Hello, I'm Hope Logan. I am an actor on Bold and the Beautiful, and many people really love both me and our Bold and the Beautiful drama. So I've come here to share updates about my beloved Bold and the Beautiful. Everyone, please subscribe and support me. If you do, I will keep coming every day with new updates for you. The halls of Forrester Creations were supposed to feel safe again, filled with the familiar rhythm of ambition, creativity, and second chances. Sunlight poured through the towering office windows, reflecting off polished floors and designer sketches pinned across the walls. But beneath that glamorous surface, a quiet sense of danger was beginning to creep back into the building. The tension centered around one man who simply could not let go, Remy Price. Even after everything that had happened, after all the warnings and chaos tied to his name, Remy found himself unable to stay away from the world of Forrester. Every step he took toward those doors carried enormous risk, because he knew very well he was no longer welcome there. But the danger wasn't limited to Remy alone anymore. The deeper problem was the devastating secret connecting him to Melissa Dillon, a secret that threatened to destroy the fragile progress she had worked so desperately hard to rebuild. Dillon had finally started repairing the damage left behind after the emotional beach house disaster involving Will Spencer, and the wounds from that situation were still painfully fresh. Every awkward conversation, every suspicious glance, and every uncomfortable silence had weighed heavily on her, leaving her terrified that one wrong move could ruin everything all over again. More than anything, she wanted to fix her fractured bond with Electra Forrester. She wanted to believe that trust could still survive after betrayal and misunderstandings had pushed them so far apart. But hanging over Dillon like a storm cloud was the truth she was desperate to keep hidden. Remy was her cousin. If Electra discovered that connection, especially after everything Remy had already done, Dillon feared it could instantly destroy the second chance she had fought so hard to earn. The pressure of carrying that secret was becoming unbearable, and with every passing day, the possibility of exposure felt more and more inevitable. As the week of May 11th through May 15th unfolds, that fear begins turning into reality when Remy once again sneaks his way back into Forrester Creations. The last time he infiltrated the building, he had hidden beneath a wig in a desperate attempt to disguise himself, creating an almost unsettling image of someone willing to become anyone just to remain close to the people he refused to let go of. This time, however, his approach would be simpler, quieter, and perhaps even more dangerous because of how ordinary it appeared. A plain baseball cap would replace the wig, allowing him to blend into the crowd with alarming ease. There was something chilling about the simplicity of it all, as if Remy had become more confident in slipping through the cracks unnoticed. The atmosphere inside the building would shift the moment he entered, even if no one realized he was there yet. Like a shadow moving silently through familiar corridors, Remy would once again place himself directly in the center of lives already strained by emotional chaos. It soon becomes clear that Remy may arrive posing as a delivery man, using the perfect disguise to justify his presence inside the building. Perhaps he truly picked up a delivery job, just as he previously claimed while speaking about the odd jobs he had been taking to survive. If that were the case, then a package bound for Forrester Creations would hand him exactly what he wanted, a believable excuse to roam the halls of a company that wanted nothing to do with him anymore. Yet there's another possibility lingering beneath the surface, one far more manipulative and unsettling. Remy could easily fake the delivery altogether, using it as another calculated scheme to force contact with Dillon once again. The uncertainty surrounding his motives only makes him more dangerous, because no one can predict how far he is willing to go. Every smile, every explanation, every casual interaction could hide another layer of desperation underneath. And at the center of all that desperation is his overwhelming obsession with fixing things with Deke Sharp. Remy's need to repair his relationship with Deke has started consuming him, twisting his judgment and driving him toward increasingly reckless choices. In his mind, Dillon may represent the final bridge back to the life he desperately wants restored. That's what makes his return to Forrester feel so emotionally volatile. This is no harmless visit. This is a man driven by panic, regret, and obsession, quietly cornering himself into dangerous emotional territory. He seems convinced that if Dylan would only help him, if she would only support him publicly or smooth things over, then maybe he could still salvage what's left of his reputation and somehow win Deke back. But desperation has a way of blinding people, and Remy's determination is beginning to cross frightening lines. The more isolated he feels, the more unpredictable his actions become. And unfortunately for Dylan, she may soon realize that Remy has no intention of simply walking away quietly. Inside the design office, emotions begin shifting in an entirely different direction as Electra and Dylan slowly start finding their way back to one another. The walls that once stood between them begin to soften as old pain gives way to understanding. And for the first time in what feels like forever, there's warmth returning to their friendship. It's a deeply emotional moment, the kind that carries the fragile beauty of forgiveness after heartbreak. Their conversation flows gently, cautiously at first, before the tension finally breaks and the two women embrace in a heartfelt hug. That simple gesture says more than words ever could. It represents trust trying to heal itself, hope fighting its way through disappointment, and two people choosing connection over resentment. For Dylan, the moment feels like oxygen after drowning, proof that maybe her life isn't beyond repair after all. But just outside that partially open office door, hidden from view, Remy watches everything unfold. The sight of Electra and Dylan reconciling does not bring relief or happiness to his face. Instead, a darker realization begins settling over him as he stares at the embrace unfolding in front of him. He understands immediately what this renewed friendship could mean. The closer Dylan becomes to Electra again, the less likely she will be willing to risk everything for him. If Dylan fully repairs her relationship with Electra, then protecting that bond may become more important than helping Remy clean up his own disastrous situation. In that instant, Remy begins to see himself slipping further away from the control he thought he still had. And for someone already acting out of desperation, that realization could push him toward even more dangerous decisions. The emotional weight of that moment lingers heavily as Remy quietly absorbs the reality unfolding before him. Electra appears ready to officially give Dylan another chance, allowing their friendship to move forward despite all the damage and complications of the past. It's the kind of emotional breakthrough that should feel uplifting, but with Remy lurking nearby, the scene takes on an ominous undertone. Instead of accepting defeat, Remy's mind immediately begins searching for another strategy, another way to regain leverage before Dylan fully slips out of his grasp. That's when the threat hanging over everyone becomes terrifyingly clear. Remy still holds the power to expose the truth about his cousin connection to Dylan. He knows how devastating that revelation could be, especially now, when Dylan's fragile reconciliation with Electra has only just begun. And if Remy becomes desperate enough, he may decide to weaponize that secret in order to force Dylan into helping him. The possibility of blackmail starts hanging in the air like a storm waiting to break. Remy may soon make it painfully clear that unless Dylan helps him solve his Deke problem, he could destroy everything she has rebuilt with Electra in a single devastating moment. It's the kind of emotional trap that leaves no easy escape. Dylan could find herself torn between protecting her future and dealing with the dangerous family secret threatening to explode around her. Every decision would suddenly carry heartbreaking consequences, and the pressure alone could become suffocating. Meanwhile, Electra remains completely unaware that the friendship she is trying so hard to repair may already be standing on unstable ground. The closer she moves toward forgiveness, the closer she unknowingly gets to another betrayal waiting in the shadows. As the tension intensifies inside Forrester Creations, Remy's secretive games threaten to unleash another emotional disaster capable of changing everything once again. Hidden behind disguises, lies, and manipulation, he continues moving through the Forrester world like a ticking time bomb, quietly watching, calculating, and refusing to let go. And with friendships hanging by a thread, dangerous secrets ready to explode, and desperation driving Remy further into risky territory, the drama building behind those glamorous office doors is only beginning. The emotional fallout could devastate every relationship caught in its path, leaving trust shattered and loyalties tested once more. In the world of the bold and the beautiful, peace never lasts for long, and the storm now brewing around Remy Price may become one of the most explosive yet. The tension inside Forrester Creations only grows heavier after Remy slips deeper into the building unnoticed, moving carefully through the elegant corridors like a ghost haunting a place where he no longer belongs. Employees rush past him carrying fabric samples, coffee cups, and design portfolios, completely unaware that danger is quietly weaving itself back into the heart of the company once again. The atmosphere around him feels almost surreal, glamorous on the surface, yet hiding a growing undercurrent of emotional chaos. Remy keeps his head lowered beneath the brim of his baseball cap, but his eyes remain locked on every doorway and every movement, searching for the one person he believes can still save him from losing everything. There is a desperation in him now that feels sharper than before, a restless energy fueled by fear, rejection, and the terrifying realization that his life may already be spiraling beyond repair. Even so, instead of stepping away from the destruction, he pushes closer toward it. Somewhere deep down, Remy seems to believe that if he can just force one conversation, one opportunity, or one moment of sympathy, he might still be able to rewrite his future. Meanwhile, inside the design office, the emotional air between Electra and Dylan continues softening in ways neither woman expected. After weeks of tension and uncertainty, there is finally a sense of calm beginning to settle between them, though it remains fragile enough to shatter at any moment. Electra's guard slowly lowers as she allows herself to believe Dylan may truly regret the pain and complications tied to the beach house ordeal with Will Spencer. Their conversation stretches longer than either anticipated, filled with emotional honesty, uncomfortable truths, and vulnerable admissions that had remained buried beneath pride for far too long. Dylan speaks carefully, almost emotionally exhausted from carrying guilt and fear for so long, and Electra can see the sincerity in her eyes. That sincerity matters because in the Forrester world, trust is rarely given twice. Yet somehow, despite everything, Electra begins allowing herself to hope that their friendship might survive after all. For a brief moment, the noise of betrayal and secrets fades into the background, replaced by the warmth of two people trying to heal wounds that once felt impossible to repair. Outside that partially open office door, however, Remy's expression darkens with every passing second. Watching Dylan reconnect with Electra forces him to confront a painful truth he does not want to accept. The stronger Dylan's bond becomes with Electra, the weaker his influence over her may become. He realizes that if Dylan fully regains Electra's trust, she will have even more reason to protect that friendship at all costs, including distancing herself from him permanently. That thought cuts through Remy like a knife because he already feels the world turning against him. Deke slipping away, people shutting doors in his face, and his reputation crumbling piece by piece have left him emotionally cornered. Now, seeing Dylan potentially moving on without him creates a dangerous combination of jealousy, panic, and desperation inside him. It becomes painfully obvious that Remy is no longer simply trying to repair damage. He is trying to stop himself from completely losing control. As Electra and Dylan continue reconnecting, the emotional intimacy of their renewed friendship becomes undeniable. Electra admits that while she cannot erase what happened, she also doesn't want bitterness controlling her life forever. There is sadness in her voice, but also maturity, strength, and the quiet desire to move forward instead of remaining trapped in anger. Dylan listens with visible emotion building in her eyes, clearly overwhelmed by the second chance she never truly believed she would receive. The hug they share becomes even more meaningful in hindsight because it symbolizes far more than reconciliation. It represents safety returning after emotional isolation, forgiveness slowly replacing suspicion, and hope surviving despite everything that tried to destroy it. For Dylan especially, the moment feels life-changing. But just beyond that emotional breakthrough, hidden in silence, Remy is already beginning to transform that hope into another weapon. The deeper Remy sinks into his own desperation, the more dangerous his thinking becomes. Standing there unseen, he starts calculating possibilities instead of respecting boundaries. If Dylan refuses to help him reconnect with Deke, then perhaps fear will succeed where loyalty fails. The secret about their family connection suddenly becomes more valuable to him than ever before. He knows exactly how damaging the truth could be if Electra learns that Dylan has been hiding something this significant all along. After all the recent drama, another deception, especially one tied directly to Remy, could instantly destroy the fragile trust Dylan has only just begun rebuilding. Remy understands that power completely, and the frightening part is that he may be willing to use it. The emotional conflict brewing inside him becomes darker by the minute, blurring the line between heartbreak and manipulation in ways that could devastate everyone involved. Elsewhere in the building, life at Forrester continues moving forward as though nothing is wrong, creating an almost chilling contrast to the emotional storm quietly unfolding behind closed doors. Designers discuss upcoming collections, executives focus on meetings, and models drift through the halls wrapped in the beauty and glamour the company is famous for. Yet underneath that polished surface, secrets are spreading like cracks beneath glass. No one realizes that Remy is standing only feet away from exploding another emotional bomb into the middle of their lives. The danger of hidden truths has always haunted the Forrester family and everyone connected to them. But this situation feels especially volatile because so many relationships are already vulnerable. One revelation could undo everything. One emotional outburst could destroy months of healing. And Remy, whether intentionally or not, is rapidly becoming the catalyst for another devastating collapse. As the day moves forward, Dylan begins sensing that something is wrong long before she ever sees Remy. There is an uneasiness she cannot explain, a tightening in her chest that makes her feel as though the walls are slowly closing around her. Perhaps it is guilt. Perhaps it is instinct. Or perhaps part of her has always known that Remy would never truly stay away. The emotional burden of keeping their cousin connection secret has already been exhausting. But now, that secret feels more dangerous than ever before. Dylan understands how fragile her renewed friendship with Electra really is. She knows trust rebuilt after betrayal is delicate, and even the smallest hidden truth can make everything collapse all over again. That fear begins haunting her every thought, turning what should have been a hopeful reconciliation into the beginning of another nightmare. And somewhere nearby, Remy keeps watching, silently preparing for whatever comes next. Whether he intends to manipulate Dylan, pressure her emotionally, or threaten to expose the truth outright, one thing is becoming painfully clear. He is not ready to let go of the control he believes he still has over the situation. The more isolated he feels, the more reckless he becomes. And that recklessness may soon place everyone around him directly in the path of another emotional disaster. With secrets tightening around Dylan, forgiveness hanging by a thread for Electra, and Remy growing more unpredictable by the hour, the walls of Forrester Creations are once again becoming the stage for heartbreak, betrayal, and dangerous emotional games. And as the pressure continues building, it feels less like a question of whether the truth will explode, and more like a question of who will be left standing when it finally does. As evening shadows begin stretching across the towering windows of Forrester Creations, the atmosphere inside the building grows increasingly uneasy, as though the walls themselves can feel the tension closing in. The elegant offices and glowing design rooms still radiate beauty and success, but underneath that polished image, emotions are becoming dangerously unstable. Employees slowly begin filtering out for the day, their laughter and conversations fading into the distance, leaving behind long, quiet hallways wrapped in silence. It is within that silence that Remy becomes even more dangerous. Hidden beneath his baseball cap and moving carefully through the thinning crowds, he starts behaving less like a desperate outsider and more like someone with a mission he refuses to abandon. Every passing minute seems to harden his determination. The loneliness, rejection, and panic consuming him are no longer emotions he is trying to suppress. They are becoming the very fuel driving his next move. Inside the design office, however, Dylan is trying desperately to hold on to the fragile piece she and Electra have finally begun rebuilding. The emotional exhaustion on her face has softened slightly since their heartfelt reconciliation, but beneath that relief remains a layer of fear she cannot shake. Electra's willingness to forgive her feels almost unreal after everything they endured. For the first time in weeks, Dylan feels as though she can finally breathe again. Yet even in that hopeful moment, the secret about Remy hangs over her like a storm cloud, threatening to swallow the light. She knows how quickly trust can disappear once deception enters the picture. Every smile Electra offers now feels precious, almost painful, because Dylan understands how easily it could all be destroyed if the truth comes out the wrong way. And somewhere deep inside, she fears that disaster may already be moving toward her faster than she can stop it. Electra, meanwhile, allows herself to believe that healing is finally possible. There is still emotional bruising beneath the surface, still moments where memories of betrayal sting sharply, but she no longer wants anger to control her future. Her decision to reconnect with Dylan comes from a place of emotional maturity and genuine affection, because despite everything, their friendship once meant something real. She remembers the laughter they shared, the loyalty they once had, and the bond that existed before secrets and misunderstandings complicated everything. In many ways, Electra wants to believe people can change. She wants to believe second chances matter. That hope gives warmth to the atmosphere between them, creating a brief sense of emotional calm inside a world constantly consumed by drama and betrayal. But tragically, while Electra is opening her heart again, she has no idea that another devastating secret is already circling closer. Not far away, Remy finally reaches his emotional breaking point. Watching Dylan reconnect with Electra has triggered something volatile inside him, something darker than simple desperation. In his mind, Dylan is slowly abandoning him, choosing her future at Forrester and her repaired friendship over helping the family member who feels completely abandoned by everyone else. The fear of losing Deke forever only intensifies that emotional spiral. Remy becomes consumed by the belief that he has nothing left to lose, and for someone already acting recklessly, that mindset is terrifying. His thoughts begin shifting from pleading for help to forcing outcomes. The line between vulnerability and manipulation disappears more with every passing second, until the dangerous idea forming in his mind starts feeling less like a threat and more like a plan. Eventually, fate places Dylan directly in his path. The moment she steps away from the office and turns into the corridor, she freezes instantly after spotting him standing there. Shock floods across her face so quickly it almost steals the air from her lungs. For a split second, the world around them feels frozen in silence. The sight of Remy inside the building sends panic rushing through her because she immediately understands the risk of him being there. Her eyes dart nervously down the hallway, terrified someone, especially Electra, might appear at any second and uncover everything. Remy says little at first, but the look in his eyes speaks volumes. There is hurt there, desperation, frustration, and beneath it all, something deeply unsettling. Dylan realizes immediately that this is not a casual visit. Remy came there for a reason, and whatever he wants, he is not prepared to leave without it. The emotional confrontation between them quickly becomes suffocating. Dylan demands to know why he came back after everything that happened, her voice trembling with both fear and anger. Remy pushes back emotionally, insisting that nobody understands how hard he has been trying to fix his life. He speaks about Deke with painful desperation, making it clear that losing him feels unbearable. There is genuine heartbreak in his words, but it becomes tangled with guilt and emotional pressure directed straight at Dylan. He reminds her that she is family, that she is the only person who can still help him before everything completely falls apart. The weight of that responsibility crashes down on Dylan instantly. She can feel herself being emotionally cornered, trapped between sympathy for Remy's pain and terror over what he might do next. Then, the conversation takes an even darker turn. Remy subtly shifts the focus toward Electra, mentioning how close she and Dylan suddenly seem again. The implication behind his words hits Dylan immediately, sending fresh panic racing through her chest. He does not have to openly threaten her at first, because the danger is already painfully obvious. The secret they share suddenly feels like a loaded weapon sitting between them. Dylan sees it clearly in his expression. If she refuses to help him, he may expose everything. The realization devastates her because she knows Electra's trust is still incredibly fragile. One revelation tying Dylan to Remy could destroy their reconciliation before it even has a chance to survive, and Remy knows it. The emotional pressure mounting between them becomes almost unbearable as Dylan struggles to keep her composure. She wants to believe Remy still has some humanity left, that he would not truly destroy her life just to get what he wants. But the desperation in his eyes makes that hope feel dangerously uncertain. Remy keeps insisting he just needs help fixing things with Deke, but every word now carries an undercurrent of emotional coercion. Dylan finds herself trapped in a nightmare she cannot easily escape. If she helps him, she risks dragging herself deeper into his chaos. If she refuses, she risks losing Electra forever. The impossible choice tears at her emotionally, leaving her feeling isolated and terrified in the middle of the glamorous Forrester halls. And as this secret confrontation unfolds behind closed doors, the danger grows even greater, because Electra is still nearby, completely unaware of the emotional explosion waiting just around the corner. At any moment, she could walk into the hallway and discover everything. One overheard sentence, one glimpse of panic on Dylan's face, or one emotional outburst from Remy could unravel every fragile thread holding these relationships together. The suspense hanging over the situation becomes suffocating, because the truth now feels dangerously close to surfacing. In the world of the bold and the beautiful, secrets never stay buried forever, and the closer Remy pushes toward desperation, the more inevitable the coming fallout begins to feel.